Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The Halo World Championship is underway. FormaL and OpTic are on their way to trying to go back-to-back and defend the title they won last year. But Shotzzy, the 2018 Halo World Champion, was also there as well and already has won another tournament on the weekends. A 2v2 showdown type game. Shotzzy completing side quests on the season. Very much enjoying your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. I did say I wouldn't talk about this again, but I kind of have to because there's quite a lot to get into here, actually. The Microsoft Activision thing was officially confirmed after the UK CMA said, alright guys, go ahead. Then they basically said, yeah, right, this is a done deal. And it's all combining this. Look, I don't know whether this is going to be good or bad. There are definitely some positives as a Call of Duty fan. I don't know what it means for the competitive side, but we'll discuss that too in a second because, as we saw on this tweet, MLG, Halo, Call of Duty, what things used to be back in the day. Maybe we can get back to some stuff like this in the near future. So these are some of the implications just on, like, there's going to be no more PlayStation exclusivity or early access or anything like that. What I'm really looking forward to is the fact that a lot of the old games, if not like every COD ever, is going to end up playable on the Xbox Game Pass. We saw it was a few months ago now that Black Ops 1, MW2, like the old school games, their servers started to be going back online, and it seems like Microsoft were involved in that and trying to be like, look, we're going to make all the Call of Duties of all time playable, which will just be fantastic if this is the case, because there's been some great games that are basically dead, unfortunately, nowadays, and that might not be the case forever. Bobby Kotick, of course, is going to go. He's going to manage the transition or whatever they're going to say, and as happens with these takeovers, the executive suite that get kicked out are going to get what they call, like, parachute payments or, you know, golden parachute. Whatever, I think it's golden parachute they call it. But anyway, he's going to get 400 million of stock or whatever the case is. You know, I'm sure he's got it written into the deal that he's getting a big payday when this happens, which is the case. But yeah, Bobby Kotick was controversial character for sure, and was in some sense the mastermind of this whole franchise stuff where he calls up his boys in regular sports. It's like, oh, I've got this really good investment for you guys to be making it. Yeah, this esports thing's really going to hit the next level. It's only 25 million. Yeah, put that money down right now. And well, Bobby Kotick pockets the cash. All his friends lose all the money. So yeah, brilliant businessman, of course, and he's going to be out of here at the end of the season, and well, Phil Spencer and all the Microsoft guys are going to come in instead. Now, this is what aBeZy says on the matter. We know that he was involved in MLG back in the day. He was then involved in Esports Engine before there was some controversy over there. They still exist, of course, but they're now part of the ESL, kind of Savvy Gaming, Saudi-owned group. But he says the following: hey, Phil Spencer, congrats on the acquisition. Amidst the massive move you've made, you've also gained a small but mighty asset called MLG. More than ever, that brand is needed today in today's rudderless esports world. Would love to be involved in that resurrection. Of course, it goes on to talk about all the things he's done, the tournaments he's run in other games, and this is a good point because MLG, under the Activision umbrella, has kind of dwindled out over the last several years. Used to be a massive property in the esports and gaming space. You know, MLG.TV was highly controversial, but you know, there was still looked back on quite fondly, I suppose, by the community those days at the very least, and that's not really the case anymore. Esports has been done internally within the CDL. They've got their own team. MLG kind of ceased to exist. Even Game Battles doesn't exist in the same way. The idea of bringing back MLG and having aBeZy involved in that revival is particularly exciting just because of what is now possible given the properties that Microsoft own. Back in the day, MLG would run these big events where you'd have Halo, you'd have Call of Duty, you'd have other games going on in the same venue at the same time, and it was really cool stuff. Now, that's not to say that's necessary, but it's an option and is probably the way that esports should be done. I think that in general, I've been frustrated over the last few years in esports when the trajectory has been towards copy and pasting what regular sports are. In many ways, esports has loads of advantages over regular sports for an entertainment product that the people that have been brought in to run it just don't see because they see what, you know, exists in regular sports, which isn't necessarily the case. City-based is one example of exactly that. FaZe even comments on it as well and says that some sort of return to this would be nice. To what extent this happens, what does this mean for these titles, we don't know, but I think, like, there's no way the Call of Duty League in its current format exists in the same way next year. Maybe like they keep it on for one more year but get rid of the city-based stuff, but in due course the CDL is going to disappear. And you know, look, Microsoft do support Halo Esports, so there will be some support for, you know, a Call of Duty esports product. What that looks like, what it means, how aligned MLG as a property that Microsoft now own might look on that. I think I'm more optimistic than I am pessimistic, but there's always concerns that, you know, when change happens, it's not necessarily going to be for the better. So Twitter your thoughts on that in the comments. Before we get into the Halo stuff, this was noted by the Seattle Surge. They put this out on Insta and Twitter, and you can actually see here, Court Registry Vancouver. So I believe that maybe this announcement is actually not their roster, even though I think they've put this Reddit post up, which I believe was a comment, well, on the roster they thought. Maybe not though, but I don't know. Still, they're moving to Vancouver. Maybe that's what this whole announcement teaser thing has been about. There's also this from Ricky. Now, I know that, you know, Methods did the voice, taking the mick out of Ricky and all this stuff, but to be honest, I thought they might keep him on here. I thought that he was the guy that they were entrusting to actually build a roster, but apparently not. Los Angeles Guerrillas, as we said yesterday, we think we know what Carolina are doing. We have some names associated potentially with the Vegas Legion. Guerrillas, I have no clue. I thought Ricky was there building the team, but apparently no. As he said yesterday, it was his last day with the company and he's been laid off. Very thankful for the experience, open to opportunities. So yeah, wishing the best for Ricky because I think he can be a valuable asset. But like, what are Guerrillas doing? He was their only guy remaining, really, in terms of, I thought that he was going to be kind of coach GM or something and they'd keep going with that. Apparently not. Either they're bringing somebody else in or they simply don't care anymore, or they're just going to say, actually, Activision, I don't care what the piece of paper says. We ain't even building a team. Like, we ain't forming a team. Have good fun with 11 teams next season, although I believe it is in some sort of contract where even if Guerrillas as an organization decide, all right, we don't want to do this anymore, someone has to pay up the 200k to get the 4 players on board. I'm pretty sure there's some sort of like something like that in arrangement. So I guess they don't need a GM technically if they want to save every last penny they can. But yeah, I've just got no idea what Los Angeles Guerrillas are doing at the moment. Now let's talk about the Halo World Championship. Gets underway in Seattle actually just yesterday. Shotzzy was there. The OpTic boys were there, of course, doing the watch parties. And Shotzzy decided to play in this 2 versus 2 Halo tournament. And this is one of the cool things that always happens at Halo tourneys. Used to happen as well to some extent in the COD tourneys back in the day. I remember like, let's say Anaheim 2019. There was the main event, there was the main stage, there was the Bravo Charlie Delta station for the pros, there was a massive amateur bracket, and then there were like side quests you could do. Like there were tournaments to play, there was like a 1v1 tournament, or like you could 1v1 nameless to win a TV, and there was some other little room. I think even at London 2019 they had like a special PlayStation room where you could play in a little tournament. It's fun stuff like this for the players at the events and for the fans at the events that really make it like such a great holistic experience. But usually at the Halo tournaments they have free-for-all tournaments and other stuff like that along the same lines. And Shotzzy, to be honest, Shotzzy was talking like maybe a year ago, maybe a little bit more than that, about trying to play at the Halo Worlds because the COD season would be over as it is. And I guess technically he might have been able to make that happen. Now I imagine that for contractual reasons, because he's playing on the CDL team and stuff like that, it probably wasn't really possible for him to actually play in Halo Champs or try and qualify with a certain team. Although Shotzzy's pretty good at Halo, as we full well know. So he enters this 2v2 tournament here because he was there. And he was in his own chat, I think, typing commands to try and figure out what his settings are. And I mean, he was trying his best to get the settings, but I don't think he really got very far. But then he actually went on to win the entire thing. So he played, I think, with this guy, Eric, a $5,000, like it was sponsored by Sen City, 2v2 throwdown. And yeah, Shotzzy just goes in, didn't even drop a map, wins the tournament, and completes a little side quest on the season, which I thought was really funny. So yeah, it was this guy that he was teaming with here as they get the job done. So, I mean, this crazy stuff from Shotzzy, I can't lie. I mean, he goes straight in, hasn't played Halo in a long time, been playing COD all season, comes back to Halo. Shotzzy would be disgusting at Halo if he actually returned. I mean, there's no doubt. And there was some talk about it, right? Because, oh, if COD dies and Halo still exists, but now Microsoft own everything, I don't think that's massively a realistic possibility, but who knows what happens in the future. So yeah, FormaL of course made the return, and FormaL is now on the main OpTic team, and they are looking pretty good based on their performance day one. They go in having won the most recent tournament, and let's not forget having won the World Championship last year, where FormaL really cemented his place as the greatest controller esports player ever for sure, with the victories in Halo back in the day. then in Call of Duty, including Champs 2017, then in Halo, including Champs 2022, and he's trying to do it all again. So they come in as the #1 seed to this tournament. They played yesterday up against, 3 different teams. They got the job done comfortably in each of these series, and, well, they move on to the bracket play.
Don't you just drink soda to get cracked?
9.
Like, you'll just drink a Mountain Dew?
A nice
DC.
Nice DC.
They do hop B, stalling it for the moment.
Or DP, I should say.
And that's Jizzle. That's Jizzle right there. 3-0 OpTic by a billion. Go Birds.
GG.
Yeah, GG's, bro. GG's.
GG, that's 1-0.
They 3-0'd G1 as well. They'd 3-0'd Complexity earlier on to get done for the day. And yeah, clean stuff for OpTic. Didn't even drop a map on the day. Now, look, they're going to play harsher competition going forwards. And honestly, whatever bracket they got themselves into, it's going to be a tough order. But, you know, it was always the thing with the OpTic Call of Duty teams. They wouldn't usually start out the tournaments particularly hot. It always used to be a thing that on Friday, they might drop a couple of maps to a team they weren't expected to, but they'd warm up into the weekends. Pretty impressive that, like, these guys have just landed, and same with Space Station and, like, FaZe and stuff, just landed and immediately hit the ground running and played really well on the Friday, which is important. You got a 3-day event. I mean, COD Champs used to be a 5-day event. It used to be Wednesday, Thursday, because there used to be 32 teams down to 16, and then it was a 16-team double elim bracket. What actually is happening here in the bracket is that the top 2 teams advance to the winners bracket, the bottom team is eliminated from the tournament, and then the 3rd place team starts in losers. So that's what happens here with 16 teams down to 12, but only 8 of these teams have a great chance, of course, starting from winners. So these are the way the pools went. Pool C ended up being Native Red and Shopify Rebellion as the #1, #2 seed respectively. And yeah, OpTic Complexity, Space Station Sentinels, FaZe Quadrant. So pretty much exactly what you might have expected here looking at these pools, what's eventually happens. And this is what the bracket looks like for the remainder of the weekend. So this gets underway today, of course. And yeah, OpTic have a couple of difficult games on their hands. I mean, it's difficult to say what the better side of the bracket is because there's good teams everywhere, really. Sentinels are good. FaZe are one of the big favourites, possibly the favourite for the tournament. OpTic are the #1 seed. They did win the most recent event, but before that they were in a bit of a slump, and it was FaZe during that time that really looked strong, as did Space Station. So it's really tough to call this tournament right now, I think, between those 3 teams I mentioned. But Sentinels are no slouches either, for sure, with some of the changes they made over the last couple of months. SR can't be bad either, but really it should be like OpTic and FaZe advance to the semis here, and then on the lower side you'd probably expect it to be Quadrant and Space Station. So either way, it's a tough bracket, and the winner of this tournament will absolutely deserve it, which is, well, going on over the next couple of days. This as well I thought was pretty crazy, the KD leaderboard of day 1. So some usual suspects here, right? We've got Falcated actually from Sentinels, Stellar from SSG, and then 2 members of OpTic Gaming and Lucid and FormaL. I mean, you gotta say, Lucid for some time was like OpTic's best player, but FormaL has been stepping up his level, and the fact that he had a 1.7 day 1, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, this is reminds me a little bit of what's happened at Champs 2017, when FormaL over the tournament had a 1.44, but in groups he had about a 1.7, because in groups they were playing lesser skilled competition. As the tournament progressed, of course, his KD started to go down, playing better teams, still very high, but yeah, I don't know if it reminds you guys of that, because yeah, another 1.7 for FormaL in groups here, and then he gets into bracket play. Royal 2 as well of FaZe now had a 1.47 on day 1, but yeah, no doubt that FormaL's coming to play, and if there's someone you can rely on, if you're OpTic over the rest of the weekend, especially when it comes down to clutch moments, FormaL is almost always going to be that guy. So this is the broadcast schedule for today, and well, we're going to leave it there for this morning. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.